going to do a review on my kayak. I've been talking to some people online, 2 guys on YouTube actually, that were asking a lot of questions about it. It's kind of a unique boat, so I figured rather than answer them all, I'm just going to send them a link, put together a quick video. The boat's a Prijon Kodiak. It's one of the, well, it probably is the largest boat that Prijon makes. Prijons are made in Germany. They're not really distributed, or they weren't really distributed much here in the States, so they're really kind of difficult to find. I do a lot of more expedition kayaking than sea kayaking these days, and I wanted something that was high volume, something I could store a lot of gear with, something that would handle tough water. And after looking at a whole bunch of them and doing some research, I came up with this one. You're not really just going to be able to go out and look for one. I found this on Craigslist about 1.5 years ago. Literally have not seen another one. I just got lucky finding it. I didn't know I wanted one so large. 17 feet. It's not roto mold, it's blow molded, thermal molded. So it's absolutely bulletproof. It's just the toughest boat you can. And if you're doing things like exploration, especially here in Seattle where 95% of the beaches and the camping lakes are just surrounded by rocks, you want something that can take a hard landing, something you don't have to worry about scratching up the bottom, something that if you absolutely or accidentally drop it off of the roof of your car when you're unloading it, you're not going to crack it. So specific features of the boat: it is made for expedition type things, and it is made for storing and taking a lot of gear with you, which means the hatches are really big. We're a forward hatch, an aft hatch. This thing's huge. When I went on my last trip, I put all of my food in there for 3 days, all of my clothes, and pretty much all of my cook gear. They have these covers that are mounted, snap covers with neoprene inserts. Never had a problem with them leaking. They do have foam bulkheads, but I haven't had mine leak yet. Even if you did, you could totally seal them. Rear hatch is just monstrous. Compartment's so deep. It's kind of hard to get a perspective of it from here. Here, put a flashlight in there to give you some sense of scale. It's huge. It's cavernous. This boat doesn't have a skeg, so there's no skeg box, which is nice. And the cool thing about the front and back hatches is the hatches themselves are huge too, so you can get bigger things through the openings of them. Prijons don't come with bungee shock cord. They come with these nets. This one's pretty stretched out. This is an old boat. I mean, this boat, previous owner had it for 8 years. I've had it for 1 year, and he got it used. So these are kind of stretched out. I don't know. I mean, they're good for holding towels or maybe a coat or something. But I did put shock cords on to hold paddles, to hold some other gear I have. They also have these little day hatch things up front, neoprene inside, but they leak, so I don't bother using them. I have a deck bag that goes over this thing that really just covers this up, and I've got a mount that actually goes on here for GoPros. It's not on there right now because I was using the deck bag. I have to use one or the other. And this particular one had the rudder added to it, or ordered with it, I don't know. Nothing really fancy about it. It's pretty typical of any rudder. Weird thing about these is they have this little indention right here, which can catch on stuff if you're not careful. You can actually snag it on something, regardless of whether you have the rudder deployed or not. The decks do have the line going all the way down to the front and back. They come with handles. They have a place where you can lock it up if you're, put it on the beach and have to leave. Actually, this might be the only shock cord it has. It's where I put my shoes once I get in the boat. Probably won't be able to get a real feel for it with this. That's probably a terrible view, but they have a really wide beam. And this is a very wide boat, so the stability of it's absolutely amazing. I had a sea kayak, or really fast, really maneuverable sea kayak before I got this one, but even after having it for 2 years, I never trusted it in hard water. This one just goes through anything. It's just absolutely stable. I've never had a problem. The seat is adjustable. You can pull it back. It'll stay sometimes. This slips out. It's not the best. I mean, these things are famous for kind of average seats. If someone had to say something negative about them, it would definitely be the seat. I don't like the way this goes underneath here. I'm going to find some way to modify it to get it up a little higher, because my back usually rests on this thing. That's no good. The cockpit itself is super wide. These are really made for a bigger man. The thigh braces are way forward on this, so my thighs hit right about here. I'm a relatively average sized guy. So you can move them down to here, but it's something I'm not really sure I want to do just yet. I like having all the room to kind of move around. I can pull my knees up when I'm fishing or whatever like that. And you can totally fish out of this boat. Again, it's so stable. Rudder controls, foot controls are not the slide kind, they're the old gas pedal kind, which again I kind of prefer, because your heels can mount straight and keep them on there the whole time, you know, for stability, but you can just put your toes forward and the boat turns. This boat's so big and so wide, you know, I do use the rudder. You get the argument about you don't need a rudder to steer a boat. You know, I've used this without the rudder in calm water, it's fine, but fully loaded, if I got 60 pounds of gear in here myself in chop water, this thing's really impossible to keep straight. They weathercock quite a bit. So this is one exception. This is one boat I do actually use the rudder on. Only modifications I've done to the boat is I put the shock cord on, like I said, and I put this paddle clip right here. So when I'm fishing or when I'm just sitting there filming or something like that, the paddle can actually be mounted just the side of the boat. It'll be on a leash, but I still don't have to worry about it falling off or going away. And I've got one of these bent shaft paddles, the ergo ones, so I had to figure out exactly how to position the thing that it would, you know, actually fit onto the front of the deck without digging in with the blade, and wouldn't be in the water too much. I'm not so much into naming my boats, but kind of a joke that came up with one of my friends. We're both Universal horror movie freaks, the old black and whites from the 50s and 40s. I don't know if anybody else watching this is, but I named it the Rita. The Rita was from a famous horror movie, but I won't go into it. Really, the only negative things I can say about it, it's a bit heavy. It's pushing 60 pounds, which if you're putting it up on the roof of a 4x4, it's a bit much. I had to stop lifting and putting it up and get some rollers to kind of stick it up the back of it. The cheesy day hatch leaks. I have no reason why it's even there. It's kind of pointless. The thigh braces are forward. The seat really isn't comfortable, and the back doesn't really hold, even though you've got the connection here to snap that thing in there. You put some weight on it and it just pops right out. So again, something I'm going to work on. A lot of people don't dig the neoprene. There's better ways, technologies these days, but again, this is a 12-year-old boat roughly, and as far as performance, it's not fast, and it will weathercock, and try to do a 180 on this thing will take about 16 minutes. But all in all, if you're not really into performance, you're not really into sea kayaking, if you're not trying to go fast, you're just out for the day, you want to do a little surfing or something, this absolutely is not the boat. But if you're into what people call exploration kayaking and kayak camping, this boat has more volume, I would say, pretty much than any 17-foot expedition boat you're going to find. Prijon doesn't make these anymore, and they only ship so many of them over to the States back in the day. There's all kinds of newer technology that people are looking for, so very few people get these and really understand what they are. And when they do come up for sale for a reasonable price, they get snagged. But again, if you're looking for something that's going to hold all of your gear and get you where you need to get in pretty much any kind of water, these I would strongly recommend trying to find one of these. Prijon's in Germany. They don't make this boat anymore. I'm not even sure if they're still making boats. But I haven't seen one of these 17-footers anywhere on the water or in the newspaper. I don't know anybody who's got one. If you're looking for one, this one I think was about 900 bucks. I can't remember exactly what I paid for it, which was a good deal. But if you want more information about it, just hit up my page or find me online. Always happy to talk about kayaks.